Inside the NFL right now, there is a doubling down on the analytics, the statistics, and the raw data that is used to predict the future outcomes of not just situational football, but it's also used heavily to judge player performances too. Let me guess. Coaches lie, players lie, the media lies, but numbers never lie. Yeah. I agree they never lie. However, the story you tell yourself and others based upon that raw data, it can be pretty misleading. For instance, did you know that Philadelphia Eagles edge/linebacker, Sam on-ball linebacker, Nolan Smith only has a 3.4% win rate on the season? Did you know that Nolan Smith has only played 56 snaps, or roughly 9.66% of Philadelphia's defensive snaps through 9 weeks of the 2023 NFL season? When the Philadelphia Eagles drafted edge/linebacker Nolan Smith, did they waste the 31st overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft? Did you see what I just did there? I told you and myself a story based upon the analytics behind this guy's play. Is that story correct? I don't know. I mean, it's still pretty early on in the process to judge this. Surely, there's not modern examples, meaning within roughly the last 10 draft classes, of star players, stud guys struggling on their initial rookie season. But that's when I remembered that Jadeveon Clowney was once the number 1 overall selection from the 2014 NFL Draft. Just like Nolan Smith, he was a ridiculously good athlete, posting things such as a 4.53 40 time with a 1.53 split. He had a 37.5-inch vertical and a 10-foot 4-inch broad jump. Tremendous athlete. With that said, while his production on 2023 has been quite impressive in Baltimore with 5.5 sacks and 13 quarterback hits and 6 tackles for loss, going all the way back to 2014, it wasn't very impressive, right? With a 0 sack, 0 quarterback hit, 3 tackle for loss, and a simple 5.4% win rate. I also remember that once upon a time, Jonathan Allen was the 17th overall pick in the 2017 NFL Draft. Lance Zierlein once thought so highly of this young man that he said, Allen is likely a first-round selection with Pro Bowl potential down the road. But during the 2017 season, he would only go on to play 159 defensive snaps, which translated to roughly 14.5% of Washington's total defensive snaps on the season. He would go on to register only 1 sack, but he did show a little bit of pass rush ability with a 17% win rate. As a matter of fact, Lance Zierlein would carry on his conversation to say this about this young man. He has an ability to rush the passer from the outside or inside, thanks to his strength, agility, elite hand usage, and his footwork. Last but not least is the homegrown example of Josh Sweat, the former 4th-round pick, 130th overall selection from the 2018 NFL Draft, a young man who drew a lot of comparisons to Jadeveon Clowney coming into that scouting combine and definitely leaving that scouting combine, where he went on to actually post a 4.53 40 with a 1.55 split, jumped 39.5 inches in the vertical, and also had a 10-foot 4-inch broad jump. Once again, another athletic freak, just like Jadeveon Clowney. But we all remember the story behind his play and the fact that it didn't connect right away with him. Actually, on the 2018 season, he would have 0 sacks, 1 quarterback hit, but he did show us a little potential with that 12.7% win rate. I just got you again. Did you see what I did there? I told you another story using 3 separate players that basically made some determinations based upon the analytics behind their rookie seasons and what that may mean for the future of Nolan Smith. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It certainly doesn't make me correct either. It could all just be circumstantial. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of details behind the play of why some of these things happen. To begin with, Nolan Smith, he had a torn pec coming into the season. If you remember, he hurt his pec. I don't know if he tore it, but he hurt his pec, right? Go back to Josh Sweat. He had a degenerative knee condition that scared teams away from him. And then he ended up having an ankle injury back in December of his rookie year. Go all the way back to Jonathan Allen, the fact that he had arthritic shoulders and then later on had a Liz Frank injury in his foot his rookie season. going all the way to Jadeveon Clowney, who had a concussion early on in his rookie season, and then he followed that up with a torn meniscus. Story matters. You got to be careful of the story that people are telling you, and you got to understand where they're getting this information to present the story to you, because it's all complex. Because we can make a lot of different determinations here based upon the numbers. Like number one, Josh Sweat. We could say Jadeveon Clowney. We could say Nolan Smith. We could say Hassan Reddick. You can insert a lot of names here. They're all very good athletes. They're also very different body types, to be fair about all this, right? I'm not even remotely insisting that Nolan Smith is the same body type as a Josh Sweat or Jadeveon Clowney. They're not. They're very different players in terms of the length of the frame there, right? Look at a guy like Jonathan Allen. That's an interior defensive lineman. Although he's a tweener at that spot. I think Jonathan Allen would have been a more favorable comparison to a guy like Milton Williams, who was also a tweener coming out of college. You get what I'm saying, guys? Be careful of the story you are being presented by people, because they may have the best of intentions and they may truly believe what they're saying, but data is only as good as the way that you're determining the numbers coming into you, right? The story you're presenting to yourself and others, basically. Because if I was honestly going to present you a story based upon some of the deeper analytics behind the Philadelphia Eagles, I would probably present you the story of Nolan Smith has 9.66% of Philadelphia's defensive snaps, while Derek Barnett has 17% of Philadelphia Eagles' defensive snaps. Once again, would lead me to believe, from my interpretation of the data and the story that I would tell you, is on the first half of the season, the Philadelphia Eagles clearly trusted the veteran guy, who, to be fair, was a former first-round pick himself, over the young guy they just spent the 31st pick in the NFL draft over. Multiple stories that can be told here. Number one, the Eagles clearly love freaking taking pass rushers, and even if they're going to play 10% of their snaps, that won't stop them from taking a first-round pick on a guy like that. But number two, are we going to see a change in the second half of the season to where we start noticing all of a sudden Nolan Smith his output's going to tick upwards and Derek Barnett's snap count is going to tick downward? I think that would be the story I would probably present to you. That would be the underlying message here, is how do the coaching staff use these two players? Like, what happens as we go into the second half of this football season? All right, guys, with that said, if you want to learn a little bit like this about the Polynesian pipeline to the NFL, I got a video here about the Ellis family, Christian Ellis and Noah Ellis here at Philadelphia. Check that one out, guys. All right, peace. I'm out of here.